All right, we are back. This question is from our engineering students. It's titled Faking Enthusiasm on the Job Search. This question asker goes on to say, so I'm reading tips for doing well in interviews, and a lot of them seem to imply that we should communicate an intense and extreme desire to be employed in that particular position, to the point that we need to know the company mission, every minute detail of the job, and act like we have some deep desire to be employed by this particular company in this particular position because we care so much about their goals, what they do, etc. I don't know about anyone else, but I have no intense enthusiasm to be employed at Faceless Corporation X. I just want a good paycheck. Am I alone in this? I don't really care what these companies do. All I care about is that I will be paid appropriately for my level of education and experience to get the typical benefits. But I feel like the hiring managers will expect me to at least fake some kind of enthusiasm for any particular position, even if it may be one out of dozens of positions I'm interviewing for. How do you guys fake enthusiasm if you simply don't feel it and are just looking for money? Well, I get it. For you, a job is a job and it's nothing more. A career is a career. But say, for example, you have Corporation X and Corporation Y. Both of them are on approximately the same commute, have about the same pay, and about the same benefits. On top of that, what is important to you? What would help you choose between those two companies? There has to be some reason why you'd prefer to work for one company more than another, other than just money, benefits. Like, for example, work-life balance. It sounds like to you, from the way you talk, that work-life balance might be really important for you. So I think that really, I get that you're saying that that the company the company wants you to know about the company, and I think that you should. You whenever you're applying for jobs, you should be doing a little bit of due diligence on your part to determine whether or not the company seems like they have the values that line up with you. So for you, your values are fair compensation, good benefits, and then I'm guessing work-life balance is another one from listening to this. And you have to be able to look at a company and do your research on them to see if they are like that. So say, for example, one of my company's values is we care about people. So you might say, hey, I saw that one of your values was we care about people. Well, respect for my time and work-life balance is really important to me. I really value my time that I spend with my family off the job. And that's where you could ask a question and say, hey, in line with your company's value, try to line up that value with the things that are important to you. Or, for example, we care about people. Well, it's really important that I have good insurance to take care of my family. I see one of your values says it's really important to take care of people. Is your insurance policy, is your vacation policy, is your time off reflective of that? Is people's availability to take vacation when they want to, is it reflective of that value? So what I recommend you do is you should look at the company's values, and you should know what the company does. Now, you shouldn't have to know every minute detail of the job, but you should have a general understanding of what the job is and what the company does. Whenever you're applying for a job, you asked from our engineering students. So I'm guessing you're currently a college student, but for me, as if I was a potential employer, I'd want to know that the person was at least found the content area interesting. So, and maybe that really isn't that important to you. Maybe it's the people that you work with, and then the other things. So I would just, I know that you said that you had some values, but I think that I'd recommend taking a deeper dive into things that you personally value other than just job and other than just paycheck and benefits. And I'm wondering if you've done an internship before, because if you've worked in a work environment before, a company's culture, a company's culture matching with your culture is important, because these are people that you're spending 40 plus hours a week with every single week. And it would just really suck if you spent that time miserable. So I think that it's not necessarily about being enthusiastic. I think it's about communicating what's important to you and asking the questions about, okay, well, what does this company do to value those things? For example, appropriate compensation. All right. Well, what does the typical performance and development program look like? What are the typical annual increases? Do people get annual merit increases and then they're also eligible for promotions on top of that, or is it just one cycle? Is there a typical promotion cycle? Is there a typical timeline where people get promoted and are increased? I mean, there are a lot of questions you can ask, and again, what I'd say is evaluate your personal values. And then do some research and have some standard questions that you can ask, and they can be kind of generic. And then really, I mean, when I was interviewing for jobs, I took like 5 minutes to 30 minutes, 5 to 30 minutes. Just go to the company's website, look up their values, and look at it and say, okay, pick on one, and line that up with your values and line up your questions to that value. It just takes 5 minutes of prep. It really does not take long. Another thing you can do, and again, if I'm hiring somebody, I don't want somebody to work at my company that isn't at all remotely interested in what we do. Because, I mean, what kind of employee are they going to be? Like, if I'm building airplanes and you just absolutely hate airplanes, you don't want to talk about airplanes, you just are bored by airplanes completely, then do I really want you to work for my company? Do you have to be obsessed with airplanes? No. But I don't want somebody that hates airplanes working for my company that builds airplanes. So it's at least have a general understanding. Again, as a college student, you want to have a general understanding of what the company does, because it'll also help you out in the interview and in making first impressions. Because if I'm a recruiter or a potential employer, and if I have to spend 30 minutes of my conversation with you explaining basic things about what my company does, that's 30 less minutes that I could spend in the interview finding out more about you and why you'd be a good fit for my company. And so if you have a general understanding, like, for example, if you're interviewing at Lockheed Martin, if you come into the interview and you don't even know that they make planes, and I think they make other things as well, but if you don't even know that Lockheed Martin makes planes and they have to explain to you that Lockheed Martin makes planes on the interview, they're like, oh, this person doesn't care at all about working for Lockheed Martin because they didn't take the time to do the bare minimum. So evaluate your values, understand what companies kind of generally do, some interview prep at your school. And you don't have to be insanely interested, but you want to work for the company because you want a job. So do your part and communicate that you want to work for a company by at least having a general understanding of what they do, what's important to you, and asking the questions so that you can help evaluate if that company is a fit for you. So how do you guys fake enthusiasm if you simply don't feel it and you're just looking for the money? I mean, I do it because it's just, I faked it, I quote unquote fake, or I was able to generate the enthusiasm by evaluating what was most important to me other than just money, and trying to also relate the things like money and, like you said, benefits to the questions that I could ask about the company. So, fake being interested is just asking a couple good questions and being honest about what's important to you. But maybe don't say, hey, I'm just here for the money. I don't give a rat's tail about what you do. Maybe don't say that. But you don't have to be super, oh my God, I love what you guys do. It's my life passion. That's kind of, that's not expected.
I'm not complaining. My thoughts get complicated. I cannot explain in lameness. Never losing focus because I ain't chasing payments. Still playing in the basement while I'm working on arrangements. They heard the kid in 50 countries. Thank God that's amazing. But I'd rather thank Spotify. They put me on the station.